Are you a piece of shit parent? You probably are, and you definitely are if you send your child to public school. Let's dissect this, because authoritarianism is a theft from potential, the potential of a life that is not yours, and so it needs to be eliminated just like torture, slavery and human trafficking. Yelling at your child and spanking them indicate that you long to modify their behavior but lack the tools for doing so. An educated and intelligent parent does not need to yell at their child or spank their child, as these are both tools of fear and desperation rather than intelligence and education. If you want to modify your child's behavior, you will need to utilize the principles for behavior modification, the effective kind that actually coincide best of all with human nature, rather than that garbage that nurtures fear and resentment. The parent who yells and nags, and to punishes with pain of some kind, either physical or emotional, is using the old and tired authoritarian style of parenting, and it is this style that is often used in public schools, meaning that every day you send your child to public school, more of their potential is erased from their life. It is entirely possible to reinforce harmonious behavior through natural consequences instead of artificial consequences, even with the toughest cases imaginable. The human heart yearns for intrinsic rewards and comforts, to feel happy and important, at every age. Yelling and spanking diminish a child's desire to live, as evidenced by the rate at which children later take their own lives, having come from households having regular verbal and physical punishments. The same begets alcoholism and abuse of substances, as the individual tries to calm the traumas they carry with them. Depression often follows them through their life, and their self-worth is statistically more likely to be lower than children who were raised in a happier home. Not only is your child forced to be around people they did not consent to be around, the entire public school system is paid for by taxation, which happens to be stolen from the general public. Many are introduced to drugs, alcohol, and sexual activity in the public school setting, before they have a chance to learn how the world works and set themselves off as level-headed adults. In a big way, public school is a theft of innocence not dissimilar to the abusive introduction of explicit sexuality, as it is done by their peers at school, and much the same perversion and distastefulness as is also considered criminal if done by adults. Children hear other children joking about and bragging about lifestyle choices that take away potential, such as the use of illicit drugs and intertwining in intimate relationships before having the wisdom to avoid long-term consequences. Public school fosters a preoccupation with matters of low long-term importance, and this precious time window of childhood development is domineered with a regimented curriculum, so that, between peer perceptions and compulsory curriculum, most other elements of development are deprived of the chance to blossom. Autonomy and initiative, creativity and enterprise, and logic and reason are just a few important elements that get disregarded, so that one becomes a conforming member of a largely irrational society and has been raised by both parent and school in an authoritarian fashion, taught mostly to shut up and obey. The product of parenting in a higher way is a child who believes they are worthwhile and feels through and through that their ideas and ambitions are worthy pursuits, and that they can accomplish what they set out to do, largely because they have much practice accomplishing what they themselves initiate, using their own autonomy and expressing their own individuality. The child who goes to public school is much less an individual than part of the herd. The graduate of public school is many times less likely to be an entrepreneur than an employee, and many times less likely to be a leader than a follower. Initiative and autonomy must be nurtured through those precious ages of childhood, else they will not later be something that can be nurtured. That window indeed closes during the ages a child is in public school. It is absolutely important to nurture the initiative and autonomy of your child, and the best way to do this is to take your child out of public school and put them in either homeschool or other good alternatives that you have in your area. The damage done by authoritarianism is very difficult to repair, but the omission of nurturing the initiative and autonomy of a child can never really be fixed. They might later work on themselves as much as they can through self-help, but the people who truly have the undeniable spirit of greatness and gumption are those who learned early on to set a goal and achieve it, which is not a big part of school curriculum. Your child needs to feel important and loved, and they also need to encounter natural consequences of their actions, as often as is merited by their behavior. To shield a child from natural consequences is a disservice to them. To enable other humans and keep them dependent is a disservice and a subtraction from their well-being, and that subtraction is what we can rationally identify as immoral or wrong. In objective morality, given that the life does not belong to you, therefore you are not entitled to subtract from it, and that subtraction has long been nicknamed evil, bad, and wrong. The well-being of another life is largely something we can objectively observe and measure, given established metrics for what constitutes objective well-being. Subtraction from objective well-being of a life that is not yours is not rightfully your entitlement or birthright in any way, even if it is your child. To ingest harmful substances while pregnant is a subtraction from a life that is not your own, and if you are not pregnant, it would truly be your own choice to make. This is an example of subtraction being an observable impact on objective well-being, which is objectively immoral, as is yelling and spanking, since both subtract from objective well-being, and usually, so does public school. Please take your kids out of public school and teach them to take initiative and to enjoy their autonomy, but always let them see the consequences and experience them, whenever it is safe. It is important to still protect them from dire consequences, but do not shield them from the kind of consequences that teach them important lessons in a safe way. Please see the link in the description to access a free parenting course from a child behavioral psychologist. Most of the course is consistent with true principles for nurturing the greater potential of any child. Use this moment today to commit to being a better parent. Please leave the world a better place by leaving the world with your children, you having taught them to be their better selves.